So today's Daf Yomi is dedicated for Shmira for the Chayalim, Atzalah for the Shviyim, Yeshua for Am Yisrael in this difficult time. Today's Daf Yomi, we're going to start on the bottom of Chesam Abayis, 3 lines on the bottom. Amar Abaye said, Meirei Shava Oven Mar Trei Kisei. At first, my teacher, Rava, used to have 2 wallets. One bag, 1 wallet. He was a Gabbai Tzedakah. He was in charge of collecting charity. One was for the poor people in the world in general. One was for the poor people of his city. But once he heard that which Rav Shmuel said to Rav Tachlifi Baradimi, which basically that you can take it from one wallet to the other for the needs of the poor, then Avid Chad Kisa, he made 1 wallet, and he made a stipulation on it. And his stipulation was that he can give it to either one, which the other poor people came. And so Iunami Avid Chad Kisa. So he also made 1 wallet. He made a stipulation. Whereas Rav Ashi came along, we're on top of 9a, Rav Ashi Amar, Anasni Nami. I think you don't even have to make such a stipulation. Whoever gives me money, they're basically relying upon me to give it. I can give it to whoever I want. They're basically telling me I can give it to whoever I want. So now we have a very interesting story. There were 2 butchers, the Avde Inyana Bahade Adadi. These 2 butchers made a deal with each other. They said whoever, basically whichever butcher, they each get 1 day to work in the week. They each get a day, and whoever works on the other person's day, they can tear the skin of the animal that he made. They can tear the hide and ruin it, punish him. So one of them went and he worked on his friend's day. So Karu Lamashle, so they tore his skin. They tore the hide. Also, Rava said, you guys have to pay. You tore his hide. Rava said, you have to pay. So Esvei Rav Yemer Bar Shelmei Rava, why? So didn't we learn that you're allowed to, that the town is allowed to, the community is allowed to basically make rules and institute reforms for the community? And so they're allowed to make an agreement. They agreed. Why does he have to pay? So the Gemara explains, well, other way, Rava didn't respond. So Rav Papa responded. Said, Shapi Rava made the right ruling. The other way. Why? If the people can make an agreement where there isn't a distinguished person, but if there's a distinguished person in the town, you have to run it by him because there's implications. There's a lot of implications to people making these side business deals. All sorts of things can happen, all sorts of bad things. They could be making deals to protect butchers, but thereby hurting the rest of the community. So once you have a big person there, you want that person deciding. You're skeptical of this, Harold.
No, this would be illegal under butchers.
But what do we think about antitrust laws? All right. I'm wondering if Harold supports them. Oh, so now we say, Tan Rabbanan, we don't make the charity collector, we don't audit him. Not with the temple, with the treasurer, not with the treasurer of the temple. It means to say, we're not going to audit this guy and drive him crazy and nitpick on his stuff. You put him in the position, you basically trust him. Even though there's not a hint, there's not a proof to this, there's a hint to the matter. What's the hint? As it says, and so it says in the book of Kings that the people who were in charge of the money in the temple, they did it with emunah. They trusted them. On the other hand, even though a person has a trusted treasurer in his house, you shouldn't just give him cash, like loose. You should count it up, make it look good, bundle it up when you give it to him. So there is a record or a sense that there's some accountability. Amar Rav Huna, Botkin Lemizonos, V'ain Botkin. I always say this when I was at Oab Shalom. Sometimes people would just walk over to me and give me like some cash, like for the shul, like a couple $100. Like it made me very uncomfortable. Amar Rav Huna, Botkin Lemizonos, V'ain Botkin Lechsus. That if a person comes to you and says he needs mizonos, he needs food, we check it out to make sure that he's actually that he actually is needy. But if he's clothing, if he needs clothing, we don't check him out. Now, I just want to say before we do that, there was a man who I found out passed away yesterday. This man was always on the corner of Georgia and 16th. He's a very nice man. His name was Jeffrey, and he passed away. And every time I drove by, he always spoke nicely to me. He asked me how my family was doing. So this is staying in his memory today. I remember him. He also once came by my house and helped me with my tree house. Anyway, we check for food, but not for clothing. You buy the same akra, you buy the same asfara. If you want, you could say it's a verse, or you could say it's logic. You buy the same asfara. If you want, you could say it's logical. Hi kamavazi, v'hai lo kamavazi. If you want, you could say it's a verse. If you want, you could say it's logic. What's the logic? That if you're naked, you're embarrassed, but if you're just hungry, you're not embarrassed. You buy the same akra, or it's a verse. It says halo peros l'ra'ev lachmecha. It's read, you give out to the hungry your food, but it's written with a letter that could be read as a sin or a shin, b'shin ksiv, pirosh, v'hadar havai, meaning search him out and then give it to him. V'asam ksiv, and with respect to the rest of the verse, it says kisireh arum v'chisiso, meaning say when you see a naked person, immediately cover him. Kitereh altar, immediately clothe him. Rav Yehuda says, "Bokin l'chsus vein bokin l'mizonos." Rav Yehuda says, we search him out if he says he needs clothing, but not if he needs food. What's the reason? He buys the same asfara, he buys the same akra. It could be logic or reverse. He buys the same asfara, he buys the same akra. He buys the same asfara. What's the logic? Hi kamatzarwe, I will kamatzarwe. Listen, if you don't have the latest Lululemons, you're not going to be in distress. But if you're hungry, you'll be in distress. And he buys the same akra, or it's a verse. It says, give out the food to the hungry. Prosla altar, first give it out immediately, and don't even ask. Could the karinan, and exactly the way we read it, we read it with a sin and not a shin. So that's the way we read it. And there it says by clothing, it says kisireh. When you see the naked person, you clothe him, meaning say kishirecha, first see him and then give it to him. Tanya kavasi, we have a brisa like Rabbi Yehuda who says that we search out for clothing, we investigate the claim that he needs clothing, but not food. Amar Kisuni, if he says, clothe me, then you have to make sure he's telling the truth. Parnasuni, if he says, I can't eat, I'm hungry, in Bodkin, we don't search him out, we immediately give him. Tanan Asam, we learned over there, and this is the mission in Peah, Ein Polchatin La'ani over Mimakam Mikikar Pedro Miarba San Basela. The poor man is coming and asking for food. He's wandering around the town. You always have to give him a loaf of bread. You have to give him the amount that it takes to buy a loaf of bread. And if he's coming, and also, if he's asking for a place to sleep, you have to give him enough place to get a bed for the night. My parnasaslina, I'm a papa porio besaja, a bed and a pillow. Shabbos, let's say he's there for Shabbos. No, someone Muslim shalashudus. You have to give him food for 3 meals. I'd say he's walking around knocking on doors. You don't have to pay him attention. Meaning to say, because once he's knocking on the doors, he doesn't need your help. He's going from door to door, so he's taking care of himself. There was a poor man knocking on the doors. That's the time to Rav Papa. He came to Rav Papa. Rav Papa ignored him. Well, if you're not going to pay any attention to him, nobody else will. So he says, should he die? Do you want him to die? But Rav Papa has a good response. Bryce says, Rav Papa says, it says, if a poor man knocks on the doors, I don't have to pay attention to him. You don't have to give him a lot of money, but you have to give him a little bit. You can't just, if the poor man asks you for money, you can't give him nothing. You give him $1, a dime, a quarter. You have to give him something. That's what it means. A person has to always give to the poor a minimum of a third of a shekel every year. As it states, as it states in the verse in Nehemiah, that we put upon us the mitzvos to give a third of the shekel for avodas beis Elokeinu. Mitzvah tzedakah is equivalent to all the mitzvahs in the Torah. It means, say, you do all the mitzvahs and you give tzedakah, it's as though you've done all the mitzvahs. It says, "Manu aleinu mitzvahs." Mitzvah and ksiv kana or mitzvahs. It doesn't say they did a mitzvah, they did all the mitzvahs. By giving charity, it says they've done all the mitzvahs. The simon for the next passage is Gadol, Mikdash, and Moshe. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Gadol ha'maaseh yoter min ha'oseh. Greater is the one who gets other people to give charity more than the one who actually gives charity. We wouldn't think about it like that, but that's what it says. It's greater to get other ones to give charity than for you to give charity yourself. As it states, Vayam ma'aseh tzedakah shalom v'avodat tzedakah hashkeit v'vetach ad olam. Because ma'aseh could also be read as mi'useh, like you get somebody to do it. Zacha ועבודת הצדקה השקט ובטח עד עולם. Zacha, let's say you merit to give the charity. Let's say you merit for good luck. Let's say you merit for the good luck. Then what's the case under those circumstances? If he merits to give charity, it says, if you merit to give charity, then you'll be able to give the food to the hungry. Lo zacha, if you don't merit, then if you don't merit, then you're going to give to people who are, meaning say, if you don't give charity, you know what's going to happen? Then the Roman kingdom is going to come and take your money, and they're going to say, "Give us your money." So you basically have two places: give your money to charity, or you're going to give your money to the government. That's your choice. Amaru Rava of Mechuzah. Rava said to the people of Mechuzah, "Matuta minaychu, I beg of you, help each other out. If you help each other out, if you give charity to each other, then you'll have peace with the kings. Otherwise, you'll have big problems." When the temple was standing, Adam shokel sheklo mischaperlo. A person would give his shekel to the temple and get an atonement. There's no more temple. And osin tzedakah mutav. If you give charity, good. But if you don't give charity now, the idolaters will take it from you by force. It'd still be considered charity, even though they take it by force. So this tells us that if they take your taxes, even though they're taking from us by force, although some people give it eagerly, and so maybe, I don't know if you're allowed to give more. Are you allowed to give more to taxes than they ask you? You sure? You just make a donation to the government? Does that ever happen, people? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So basically, it's still considered charity even if your government takes it from you by force. This matter was told to me by Ula Mishagesh Orcha Te'ima. Now, he says this refers to the one they called, is referring to Rav Sheshes, according to Rashi. Not everybody takes this approach. Who is called the Ula, which is the child who messed up the ways of his mother. We'll see why on top of Testament base. But first, we have the story that Rav Sheshes told to Rava. What's the story? And he said it Mishmei de Rebbe Lazar, and he said this in the name of Rebbe Lazar. What does it say that you'll wear charity like a defensive garment? Just like this coat of iron of metal called klipa. Every single piece of metal combines to make a huge protective force. So to charity called every little bit that a person gives to charity, even if you can't give $1 billion, every little bit that you give to charity combines to make a huge calculation. Rechanina says from here, edim called Kubaget edim called sikatzenu. So meaning to say, like a precious garment is all our tzedakah. Ma beged zeh kol nima v'nima mitzrefes lebeged gadol. Just like this garment, every single thread combines to make a big garment. Av tzedakah kol pruta pruta mitzrefes cheshbon gadol. So to charity, every single coin combines, and now you have a big calculation. We come up to Hashem at the end of our life. You have a big calculation. You know what it's like? It's like you have invest. You invest a little bit here in your retirement account. You put a little in every year. At the end of your life, end of your working life, you have a much larger amount. So here too, we come up to Hashem. Says, okay, I gave $1 here, I gave $1 there, I gave $5, I gave $10. And then you come up, you say, oh, I gave $1 million to charity at the end of my life. So that's what it is, like a garment. Everything is important. Why do they call him the child who messed up the ways of his mother? Because there was the following story. So Rabbi Chadvoy Bar Ami once asked Rav Sheshes, we're on Tes Amud Beis 9b, around 15 lines from the top. So Rabbi Chadvoy Bar Ami says to Rav Sheshes, so basically there's a mitzorah, somebody who's leprosy, he has to count 7 clean days and be purified. And those are the days called the Yemei Chalata. And then after that, he brings 2 birds and he shaves, and then he goes and counts 7 more days. Those are called the Yemei Sipuro. And then he has to bring his korbanos on the 8th day. How do we know that during the days of the Sipuro, the days of the counting, he's able to make another person tamei if he touches him? Amar lo, so Rav Sheshes says, just because since during that time the garments he wears are tamei, because it said he has to immerse his garments. So since he can make his garments tamei metamei adam, he can also make a person tamei. So Amar lo, Rav Chadvoy says, Dilma tuma b'chiborim shani. No, maybe when he's wearing the clothing, he can make it tamei. But that doesn't mean he can make somebody else tamei. Just like if you move a carcass, you make it tamei. But we don't find that if somebody touches after he touches the nevela, it can make somebody else tamei. So Amarlei, so Rav Sheshes just gives a different response. How do you know that a sheretz, if you have one of these creepy crawly creatures that makes somebody tamei? Isn't it because it makes the garment tamei? Amarlei sheretz behedjik sevei. Says sheretz says explicitly in Torah. Always show you gaba called sheretz. It says it that it makes a person tamei. And how do we know that a male seed can become tamei, makes a person tamei? Because it makes a garment tamei. So he says no. It says explicitly. Oh ish it says explicitly in the pasuk. Oh ish to include somebody who touches the shechva zera, that he becomes tamei. So now the Gemara tells the story. Here's where it gets here's the action. So Rabbi Chadvoy Bar Ami kept responding to him in a status of like making fun of him, like he was laughing. So Rav Sheshes got upset. So Ishtek Rabbi Chadvoy Bar Ami, so Rabbi Chadvoy Bar Ami was silent. He was quiet, meaning to say Rav Sheshes got upset, and then Rabbi Chadvoy, because Rav Sheshes was upset at him, he was punished. Because we have in the Gemara that whenever you heard a rabbi and the rabbi gets upset, the person gets punished. So Rabbi Chadvoy became mute. He wasn't able to speak anymore. This Yakar Talmudeh forgot all his studies. He got like dementia. So maybe he had a stroke or something. So the mother of Sheshes came along, the Kabachya Kamei. She started crying in front of him. He's screaming out. She was screaming at him. She was saying, pray for this man. But he refused to pray. Rav Sheshes wasn't praying for Rabbi Chadvoy Bar Ami. Amrullah, she says to him, so she says, she opens up her shirt and she says, look at these breasts that you once nursed. Have some akar satov. Have some recognition to what I've done for you, and accept my request and daven for him. So by Rachmi Itzi. So Rav Sheshes davened and he was healed. You got a question, Moshe?
Interesting.
So the Gemara says Uda Asanoa Minolan, and after. So okay, fine, that's the story. But what's the source for this idea? How do we know that if you become tamei during your days of counting, that during your days of counting, you can make another person tamei. Gemara says, well, that's a different answer. Tanya, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, Nemar kibbutz begadim v'mei sipuro, v'nemar kibbutz begadim v'mei chaluto. It says you have to wash your clothing during your days of counting and during your days of chalata. So we make a comparison, just like the clothing you have to wash, so too you can make a person tamei. Amar Rabbi Lazar, gadol osef tzedakah b'seiser. One who gives charity in private is so great. Is even greater. Yosef Moshe Rabbeinu is even greater than Moses. The Moshe Rabbeinu said, Moshe Rabbeinu said he was rebuked by the af and chema. These are two words of anger. Somebody who gives in secret will cover up anger. And also it says the shochad v'chek chema aza. One who gives it can, if he gives it secretly, if he puts the money into the coat secretly, it will overcome the chema. It's stronger than chema. Rabbi Yitzchak says, yeah, giving charity in secret can overcome a form of anger of God, but not the chema. It can overcome the af, but not the chema. Even though he's giving the money secretly, chema is still stronger. Alternatively, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, called Dayan Shenotel Shochad, maybe chema aza l'olam shenemar v'shochad b'chek. Any judge who takes a bribe is going to bring tremendous anger to the world. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, kohanosem prutel la'ani misparach v'sheish brachos. Anybody who gives a coin to the poor is going to get 6 blessings. And if you comfort him with words, misparach v'achas esrei brachos. Even better than giving charity is giving him words of comfort. You get 11 blessings. And but it says halo paros from that verse we cited before, and the Bach tells us exactly how we get all 6. And this is the 6 blessings you get. And if you praise him with words, you comfort him, you get 11 blessings, as it says, V'raiv nafshecha v'nefesh na'ana taspia v'zerach v'choshech oirecha v'faltecha mitzarayim v'nichacha Hashem tamid v'spia b'tzachsachot nafshecha. And okay, ubanim limcha charvos salam mostei dor v'dor tikomin. The commentaries discuss how you get all 11 from this. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, what do we do with the pasuk that says Rodev tzedakah v'chesed? One who pursues tzedakah and kindness, yimtzach chayim tzedakah v'kavod, will find life, charity, and honor. Mishum derodev tzedakah yimtzah tzedakah, because he pursues charity, he's going to get charity. Doesn't make sense, because I give a lot of charity, then I'll get charity. I don't want charity if I'm giving charity. To tell us, if somebody pursues after charity, you know what the reward is? You know what the reward for giving charity is? Not yes, but not just that. God will give you more money to give more charity, but we'll see it's to give to charity to good causes. Will give you good people, meaning to say, you want to get your reward. So Hashem will give you good people to give charity to, so you make sure you're going to get the reward for giving charity. Because if you give to bad people, you might not get the reward. We'll see why. What happened with Jeremiah when Jeremiah was being pursued by the people of Anatot? They were trying to kill him. He says, he prayed to God, punish them. What did Jeremiah ask God to do? Amar Yirmiyahu v'nei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel Olam, afilu b'shah shekol finis yitzran, v'vachshem lasot tzedakah fanecha. Even at those times where they want to give charity, hachshim b'vnei adam she'enam mehuganim. Send them people who are not good, kedei shelo yikabu aleim schar, so they don't get reward. What's the pshat here? What's going on here? What do you mean they're not going to get reward if they didn't give to the right person? So the Rav Elchanan says like this: there's 2 aspects to every mitzvah. There's the aspect doing the mitzvah, the ma'aseh mitzvah, and then there's the aspect called the ratzon mitzvah, that you have the right intent. So normally, as long as you do one, you're going to get a reward from God. But these people were no good. They were bad people. They weren't doing the mitzvah of tzedakah for the right reason. They were doing it, let's say, maybe whatever. They had the wrong reasons in giving the charity. So if you're going to have the wrong reason, and you also don't actually give it to a person who needs the charity, then you don't get anything. That's what Jeremiah was saying. These people are doing it for the wrong reasons. So make it so that they don't give it anyway. They don't get the reward by actually doing the mitzvah. That way we hold it back from them. Now let's say one more line here. We'll just go up a little bit more. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says, "Call Ragel also tzedakah zocha havyan lo banim balei chachma." Whoever gives charity regularly, he's going to merit that he has children who are very smart, balei osher, balei agada. They're very wealthy. They know how to give speeches to the community. Balei chachma. How do we know that they're very smart? Because it says yim tzachayim. They'll find life. And what's life but wisdom? Balei osher, because it says tzedakah, because it says that they'll find charity. Balei agada, because it says kavod. And people give good stories. They get a lot of people coming to their lectures. So, okay, we'll stop the recording here. Everybody should have a shkoyach. I want to say that tomorrow morning, God willing, we'll